In the tranquil lanes of a town that seldom murmured of violence, Lee Ki-young's narrative unfurled like a subdued tempest, leaving a residue of astonishment in its aftermath. Ostensibly, Lee seemed like any other, a neighbor, a companion, perchance even a stranger you might traverse past without a secondary glance. Yet beneath this commonplace facade lurked a reality so somber it appeared plucked from the chapters of a suspense novel. In December 2022, this precise dichotomy between semblance and conduct would be brought to the forefront in a disquieting revelation that unveiled the profundity of Lee's actions. Here was a man who, behind his unassuming facade, harbored secrets that would unravel a narrative of deception, betrayal, and murder. 2 lives were taken, one being a 60-year-old taxi driver, vanished into the cold night of December 20, 2022, and the other, a 50-year-old woman named Shi, missing since August 2022. But was it all? These weren't just numbers or headlines. They were clear reminders of the hidden dangers that walk among us, masked by the mundane. This story is not just a recount of crimes. It's a journey into the heart of paradoxes, where the line between ordinary and strange blurs. Lee Ki-young lived among us, blending into the crowd. To most, he was just another face, neither standing out nor drawing attention. His life seemed ordinary, with routines and relationships like anyone else. Yet, behind this facade of normalcy, Lee harbored secrets and a darkness that few could have guessed. Lee's journey of change from being unknown to famous for bad reasons didn't happen overnight. It was a path marked by choices and actions that slowly revealed his true nature. This incident of cruelty was a piece of a puzzle, a hint at the complexity and contradiction that defined him. Lee Ki-young, on the surface, was everyone's neighbor, yet beneath, he was a person few truly knew. In December 2022, a shocking discovery was made. Lee Ki-young's girlfriend, who we won't name, found something terrible that changed everything. She was looking for something ordinary in their apartment when she stumbled upon a hidden horror. Hidden away in the closet, she found the body of a 60-year-old taxi driver, a man who had been missing since December 20, 2022. This moment was a turning point. The date was just before Christmas, a time when homes are filled with warmth and joy. But in Lee's apartment, there was a chilling secret. The girlfriend, expecting nothing out of the ordinary, opened a closet that was rarely used. The fear and shock she felt upon seeing the body can hardly be put into words. Her scream upon the finding alerted neighbors, and soon, the police were called to the scene. This wasn't just a tragic find. It was the unraveling of Lee Ki-young's double life. Until that moment, his actions were hidden in plain sight, his dark deeds unnoticed by those who thought they knew him. The immediate aftermath saw the girlfriend in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the reality of her discovery. The police moved quickly, securing the area and starting an investigation that would reveal the true extent of Lee's crimes. This was the beginning of the end for Lee Ki-young's facade of normalcy. In their investigation, the police found out that the apartment where Lee Ki-young was living wasn't actually his. It was in Shi's name. This discovery raised eyebrows. How and why was Lee living in an apartment owned by a woman who had suddenly gone missing? This detail was a puzzle piece that didn't fit, making the police dig deeper into Lee's life and his relationship with Shi. Lee Ki-young had a complex relationship with a 50-year-old woman named Shu, who was reported missing in August 2022. Shi and Lee's connection was complicated, tied together not just by personal feelings, but also by money. Lee saw an opportunity in Shu, exploiting her financially. He took control of her money, using it for his own needs. This wasn't a partnership of equals. It was Lee taking advantage of Shi's trust. As the relationship progressed, it became clear that Lee's intentions were dark. The trust Shi placed in Lee led her into danger. By August 2022, Shi disappeared, leaving behind unanswered questions. It was later revealed that Lee was responsible for her disappearance. Shi's trust in Lee, her disappearance, and the subsequent discovery that Lee had exploited and harmed her paint a grim picture of manipulation and betrayal. This relationship, ending in tragedy, highlights the lengths Lee went to in order to use those around him for his own gain. Additionally, Lee was in deep financial trouble. He owed a staggering $200,000, a debt so large it painted a picture of desperation and dangerous decisions. This debt was a heavy burden, one that could drive a person to extreme actions to try and escape it. Eventually, Lee murdered her. When the police finally confronted Lee about Xi's disappearance, his reaction was chilling. He talked about ending her life with a frightening ease, as if it was a mere fact of life, not a horrific act he had committed. This casual admission of guilt showed a lack of remorse and a disconnect from the atmosphere of his actions. Lee's ease in discussing such a grave matter shocked everyone involved and added a cold reality to the already harsh situation. A check on his mind, a psychological evaluation, showed Lee had big troubles thinking about others' feelings and understanding right from wrong. He didn't feel sorry for what he did and could do something bad again. This look into his mind helped explain why he acted so harshly toward Xi and the taxi driver. In fact, there was something else except the murder of Xi and taxi driver, which was shocking to the society as well. In August, just before committing his first murder, Lee Ki-young displayed deeply troubling behavior by tormenting a cat in a swimming pool. Captured in a video, he forced the cat into the water, ignoring its evident distress and struggle to escape. Each time the cat managed to reach the edge, attempting to get out, Lee would pull it back in, taking pleasure from the animal's fear and desperation. This act of cruelty was not just an isolated incident, but a chilling prelude to his subsequent violent crime. Lee's actions were not just because of his money issues. His way of thinking and feeling, or really not feeling much about others, played a big part. This made his crimes even more shocking. Now let's delve deeper into the mystery of the murder of the taxi driver. On December 20, 2022, a night that started like any other turned really dark. Lee Ki-young on his date evening got into a car accident with a 60-year-old taxi driver. Instead of resolving it peacefully, Lee saw a way out of his financial troubles, but in the worst way possible. After the crash, instead of calling for help or exchanging insurance information, Lee convinced the taxi driver to come back to his apartment, promising to settle the damage in cash. This was obviously a lie. Once they were inside, away from any prying eyes, Lee's true intentions came to light. He already had 2 charges from car accidents before, and the third one would be heavy to resolve due to Korean driving laws. In a shocking turn, Lee attacked the taxi driver. The confrontation was violent, ending with the taxi driver losing his life. Lee didn't stop there. He tried to cover his tracks by taking the taxi driver's wallet, using his credit cards, and even impersonating him online to mislead the driver's worried family. He replied to the calls of taxi drivers' family members with messages like "Dad is busy at work" or "Can't talk." This act was not just a crime of opportunity, it was calculated. Lee manipulated the situation from the moment of the accident, leading the taxi driver into a trap. This murder was Lee's desperate attempt to escape his financial hole, showing how far he was willing to go. After the incident, Lee stole the victim's wallet with cash in it, the phone, and other belongings. He also created a credit account with 50 million Korean wons in the name of the 60-year-old dead taxi driver, which is equal to $37,000 and later used for his own personal needs. In August 2022, another sad chapter began in Lee Ki-young's story. This time, the person involved was Xi, his ex, a 50-year-old woman who had vanished without a trace. Xi's disappearance puzzled everyone until Lee's arrest brought the dark truth to light. He confessed to ending Xi's life, a confession that was as shocking as it was cold. Despite his admission, the police faced a big hurdle. They couldn't find Xi's body. Lee had hidden it too well, or perhaps the clues to its location were too cryptic to follow. Initially, Lee Ki-young misled the authorities by claiming he had left Xi's body in a river, a statement that prompted an extensive search. The police and rescue teams scoured the river, hoping to recover Xu and provide some closure. Despite their efforts, which included the use of divers and advanced search equipment, they found nothing. The river, with its cold and murky waters, held no answers, and Xi remained missing. Faced with the fruitlessness of the search, Lee changed his story. He then said that he hadn't put Xu in the river, but had buried her in a shallow grave near the riverbank. This new revelation sent the police on another difficult search, hoping this time to find the evidence needed to bring peace to Xi's family and hold Lee fully accountable. However, this second location, like the first, had no results. The supposed grave was empty, and the mystery of Xi's final resting place deepened, adding another layer of tragedy to the case of Lee. Lee Ka-young didn't just commit terrible acts, he also used his victims' identities to get money. He took the identities of the people he hurt and pretended to be them to borrow money. This way, he got loans and didn't plan to pay them back. On December 30th, 2022, they arrested Lee. He was caught because he had been hurt in a fight and was at a hospital. There was an incident where Lee, aiming to blend into high society, joined a group of young men at a restaurant. He pretended to be the son of a wealthy family, boasting about his supposed riches and luxurious lifestyle. This act of deception was captured by restaurant cameras, showing Lee's manipulative nature. In the end of his conversation with the group of young men, he came up with a very strange question. He asked them if they could kill for $1 million. The young men in the restaurant obviously did not like it and left outside. Lee followed them, arguing he got into a conflict which grew into a fight. Everything happening outside was clear on the street camera footage. It turned out to be not that challenging to gather evidence. They looked at videos from cameras on the streets and talked to people who knew Lee. They also looked at Lee's phone and bank records. This helped them see how he used the taxi drivers and Xi's identities to take money. The police also examined Lee's financial records, finding transactions and withdrawals that matched the timeline of his fraudulent activities. These financial trails, combined with the testimonies of those who had interacted with Lee, painted a comprehensive picture of his schemes and movements. This compilation of evidence, from video footage to financial records, was significant in building a strong case against him, and made it clear that Lee was behind these crimes. This led to him being taken to court to answer for what he had done. The police had to be very careful and smart to put all the pieces together. This was how they made sure Lee would face justice for his actions. In the trial, after considering all the evidence and the severity of Lee Ki-young's crimes, the court made its decision. Lee was sentenced to life in prison. This sentence was given because of the terrible things he did, including taking the lives of others and the many lies he told to cover up his actions. The life sentence reflects the court's view that Lee's actions were extremely serious and that he must face the consequences for the rest of his life. The trial of Lee Ki-young was closely watched. It began after his arrest on December 30th, 2022. In this serious moment, the court was filled with people waiting to hear about Lee's fate. On April 12, 2023, the case took a critical turn. The prosecutors, looking at the gravity of Lee's actions, asked for the death penalty. They argued that the nature of his crimes, including the calculated murder of the taxi driver, witnesses came forward, sharing what they knew. Some talked about Lee's behavior, others about the sad day they found out what happened to their loved ones. The evidence was strong. There were videos showing Lee's movements and records of the stolen money. Every piece added to the story of what Lee did. The trial was about finding the truth and deciding how to respond to such serious crimes. Everyone listened carefully to the witnesses, the evidence, and what Lee had to say. The court had to think about everything before making a decision. Also, in the trial, Lee Ki-young expressed remorse for his actions, stating, "There is no excuse for my crime. I want to apologize to the victim." This statement came after a period of investigation and legal proceedings that led to his sentencing. His acknowledgement of the crimes and expression of regret were part of the courtroom proceedings. On May 19, 2023, the court made a final decision on Lee Ki-young's fate. After hearing about all he did, the judge sentenced Lee to spend the rest of his life in prison. This means Lee will never be free again because of the serious harm he caused to others. Along with being in prison for life, the court said Lee must wear an electronic device that keeps track of where he is all the time. By choosing life in prison and the tracking device, the court wanted to make sure Lee could not hurt anyone else. They thought about how planned and cold Lee's actions were and how he didn't really show he was sorry in a way that seemed true. This sentence was the court's way of saying such actions could not be forgiven and must be punished strongly. During the trial of Lee Ki-young, experts looked closely at his mind. They found that Lee showed signs of being a psychopath. This means he had a hard time feeling for others and understanding the difference between right and wrong. These experts said Lee only thought about himself and didn't care about the harm he caused. The court listened to these findings very carefully. Knowing about Lee's psychopathic tendencies helped the court understand why he did such terrible things. It wasn't just that Lee made bad choices. His way of thinking and feeling was very different from most people. This information about Lee's mind was important for deciding his punishment. The court saw that because of the way Lee thinks, he might do bad things again if he ever got the chance. So, when the court decided on May 19, 2023, to keep Lee in prison for life and to make him wear a device to track where he is, they did it not just because of what he did, but also because of the kind of danger he could be in the future. Lee Ka-young's case brings up big questions about people and society. How did Lee, who looked so normal, do such bad things? His actions show that sometimes what we see on the outside doesn't tell us what's going on inside someone's mind. This story makes us think about justice. What is the best way to handle someone like Lee? He's been given a life sentence, but is that enough to make up for the harm he caused? And, with what we know about his mind, can someone like Lee ever change for the better? Then there's the question of stopping such crimes before they happen. Lee showed signs of trouble before he committed his crimes, like when he was cruel to an animal. Could paying more attention to these signs help us stop other crimes? How can we get better at seeing the warning signs and helping people before they do something terrible? Finally, Lee's case makes us wonder about the victims and their families. How do they find peace? And what can we do as a society to support them better? These questions don't have easy answers, but by thinking about them, we can try to make things better in the future. Lee Ki-young's case is a sad story, but maybe by learning from it, we can help prevent other tragedies. Feel free to leave your opinion in the comments section.